Everybody, welcome back to Total Disclosure. My name is Tyler and I'm your host. We are back at Contact in the Desert 2025 or Event Horizon. And I am super stoked to be sitting down with someone who I've admired for many, many years. He needs no introduction, so I'll make it short and sweet. Danny Sheehan, I know you're a busy man, so thank you for sitting down with me today.
Terrific. It's easy, Tyler. Thanks for having the time.
Of course. So I really want to jump into this here because, I've had these questions rolling in my head, and what do I want to talk to Danny about? I want to talk about your latest initiative and, really how your average citizen can get involved with disclosure and how they can help mount pressure on Congress to continue and pass these laws for whistleblowers, for people coming forward who have evidence and stuff that we need support for. But also, I would like to talk about, this introduction of psionics and this. It seems to be a sleight of hand issue here. So maybe we could start with your latest initiative to get people involved with disclosure.
Well, we've got there's an organization that's been set up. It's called the New Paradigm Institute. Okay. In that we set this up after I was contacted by Luis Elizondo, and after he had revealed to the New York Times the existence of this advanced aerospace threat identification project that he was the director of, and started getting all kinds of attacks coming at him from the people in the Pentagon, Susan Gao and others. Were just flat out lying, saying that there never was any such program. We don't know what you're talking about. We don't know who Luis Elizondo is. He contacted me and asked if I would work with him to put together a legal complaint to file with the Inspector General of the Defense Department. And it was not only a complaint that people were lying about him, but that they were lying to Congress about the existence of this entire program. And that they were lying to the American public about the existence of this extraterrestrial presence here on the planet, in the reality of the UFO phenomenon. So we put together, in coordination with Lou at the beginning, this New Paradigm Institute. We put it together under the 501c3 public interest charter of our Romero Institute that had been going for 40 years, that we've been dealing with all kinds of different issues. And that's why he called us, that he knew that we could put together a citizen organization. So what we've done is we've set up a project called Citizens for Disclosure. And we worked with people that were in the Senate, working with the Senate Intelligence Committee to craft this 64-page bill that set up an entire cartography pursuant to which we could roll out this information to the people of the world. And at the same time, prepare the major political institutions, economic institutions of our world, and religious institutions to kind of absorb this information. And that's the New Paradigm Institute and its component element, which is Citizens for Disclosure.
Right.
We're going to be organizing, we're in the process of organizing now, chapters in all 435 congressional districts across the country.
Wow.
We have chapters now in 32 of the 50 states that are set up already. We're going to be then setting up teams inside each election district, inside the congressional district, the political precincts. This is a straight on the ground, full scale public education, grassroots organizing campaign to turn our attention, citizen attention, to this issue, and to then in turn have them turn their attention to their local congressperson, of which there are 435. Most people in the country don't even know how many of them there are, and they don't know who their congressperson is. So we're going to help inform people as to who their congressperson is, what committees they sit on, what they voted on in the past, and why we know that there's complete bipartisan support. It's this issue of getting exposure of what the UFO phenomenon is all about and what our government knows about it is the one true bipartisan issue in all of the Congress.
Yes.
that the most conservative of all the Republicans, even in the Freedom Caucus,
Mhm.
all the way to the most progressive elements in the Democratic Party of the Progressive Caucus, are all uniformly supportive of getting this bill passed. The problem is that even though we've passed it through the United States Senate, we've run into a resistance over on the House side that the former chairman, the immediate
Right.
past chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, a man by the name of Michael Turner out of Ohio, comes from the congressional district that houses the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And this is the place to which the debris taken from the Roswell crash back in July of 1947 was taken, is one of the central places where they're engaged in the reverse engineering of the technology that's been recovered from the craft in an attempt to make a new weapon system
Right.
out of it. So the New Paradigm Institute in general and the Citizens for Disclosure in particular are the newest undertaking on the part of our organizations of all the UFO community to gather the people together, get them trained so they can have coffee clatches at their house, invite their friends and neighbors over for a Friday evening,
Right.
show them we put it all out on YouTube,
Yes.
a lot of the major interviews. We've got, like probably 8 or 10 or 12 major interviewers, such as yourself,
Right.
who are doing interviews like this,
Yeah.
the people that you've been talking to.
Yep.
And so they're available on YouTube.
Yeah.
All they have to do is go and watch them. So they can pick out some key interviews, for example, have their friends over Friday, have coffee and donuts and stuff like that, show them the videos, and then have them sign up too to become members of their Citizens for Disclosure group. And then they can send letters to their congresspersons to tell them that they want this disclosure bill passed. So we've got this all coordinated now. We've got the 64-page bill. We know what the process is that will be adopted. We can use this as a basis for organizing people, educating people, so they know what this legislation will do. It directs the president to appoint a body, a group of 9 American citizens who are going to review all of the internal information that's in possession of our government agencies about the UFO phenomenon, and then everything that's older than 25 years old, they're going to demand that be released publicly
Yes.
immediately. Okay. And at the same time, what our New Paradigm Institute is doing is trying to craft recommendations as to what steps need to be taken
Right.
to modify our present geopolitical structures, our treaty organizations on our planet, the political structures of our citizens, the economic structures that we have, the religious institutions that have to get updated on, they've all talked about the eschaton, the point
Yes.
where the point where everything will come to a head and we will all reach out and embrace the kind of qualities that whoever the prophet was of their particular religious tradition, they were able to display all kinds of extraordinary capabilities. There'll come a point in time when all of our human family will be able to display these types of capabilities. That this is something that the New Paradigm Institute is trying to work with people to prepare for this process. So it takes on potentially this kind of evangelical kind of dimension,
Right.
because the evangel is the sharing the good news. That's what it means. That a person who brings the good news to the people about what's going on.
Right.
This revelation of the reality of the UFO phenomenon, after all these years, the past 80 years, people have been hearing about it. They've seen all kinds of science fiction movies about it. But the fact is, the reality is now upon us, where this is getting set to happen. And we need to start getting ready for this. So that's our newest endeavor right now of the New Paradigm Institute and the Citizens for Disclosure. And so that's why we're asking everybody to just contact newparadigminstitute.org and click the link that signs you up to be a member of Citizens for Disclosure. It's completely free. And we will customize a response to your district where you live. You just put in your name and what your zip code is. so that we'll know, where you live, what
Right.
congressional district you're in. We'll send a customized report to you about who your congressperson is, what they vote, how they vote on things, as I said, what their position is on this already, what new information they may need to have in order to resolve that they're going to vote for these bills coming up, and tell them about the legislation. Because a lot of the people that are in the House of Representatives didn't even know that the Senate had passed this major bill, because it got folded into the kind of several thousand page National Defense Authorization Act
Yeah.
that covers everything from building a new aircraft carrier to a new jet fighter.
Mhm.
And here, all of a sudden, buried in these thousands of pages, was this 64-page section about setting up this particular group to reveal the information about UFOs. So that we want to get people to know that this portion of the bill exists, that we want that put back into the National Defense Authorization Act, so that it will be passed by Congress.
Mhm.
So that's what we're doing right now. And we're here this weekend at the Contact in the Desert, because there are like 7,000 people here who are interested in this particular issue. There are a couple dozen major speakers who are speaking to various aspects of this whole thing. And that we have working groups where people are gathering together on the side and having meetings about what to do. So we've been meeting with some of the people that are already members of the Citizens for Disclosure,
Mhm.
working on getting meetings set up. There's an order outstanding that we've even gotten the House of Representatives to pass already, ordering all 6 of the United States military services, all 18 of our intelligence agencies, all 32 of our United States Defense Department agencies who are in possession of information about UFOs, which we know they have it, ordering them to put it all together into digital format with a searchable index and make it available to the National Archives on October 20th of this year.
Oh, wow.
So there's a big bango date just like that coming up. And we're going to have a global disclosure day, the second annual such thing for people all around the country. It's like Earth Day,
Right. Yeah.
and we're hoping that it's going to end up having the same kind of notoriety of Labor Day or Memorial Day, so that people all organize and focus on this. So we're going to be doing this on October 20th. And we want the citizens to put pressure on all of the major agencies of the executive branch and the president, who has promised that he's going to
Mhm.
order the release of all of this information, and he hasn't done it yet.
Yeah. People are waiting.
He's been there for like 120 days already,
Yep.
and he hasn't issued that executive order. So we want people to, in addition to contacting their senators and congresspeople, to send this letter out to put pressure on the president himself to issue this executive order ordering them to do this. But we want Congress involved. We don't want this just to be something done by the president alone. We want the Congress of the United States to be involved. So they're involved in nominating the people for the president to appoint to this 9-person
Person
panel.
Right.
And we need democratic participation in
Mhm.
this process. In the panel, one of the things they're assigned to do, in addition to reviewing all the information and releasing some of it, what they're also in charge of doing is reviewing all the other information, and no matter, even if it's newer than 20 years old, of deciding how much of that's getting ready to be revealed right away,
Right.
how quickly it's going to be revealed. And they're going to prepare, very importantly, a UFO controlled disclosure campaign plan, so that over a period of the 7-year period of the statute that's covered, that they're going to be rolling all of this information out. At the same time, we're preparing the amendment of all of our major institutions to prepare to absorb this new information.
Exactly.
That's what we're doing. The short answer to your question.
That was a great answer. It's funny. Is when you said Mike Turner. Now, in that district, I looked into it a little bit. So it seems that he gets a lot of funding from companies like Lockheed and
That's right.
defense contractors.
That is right.
So, do you think that? I've obviously heard what you said in other interviews, but I mean, is it of your opinion that the DoD or some contractor that works in that space is responsible for the pushback, or
yes.
because they essentially, if they own these members of Congress, right?
Yes.
They
They
lobby them.
pay for their elections.
Exactly.
Very pointedly, that because Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is the biggest Air Force base in the world, is right there. Okay. And because the craft that was brought there originally, other craft that have been recovered have been brought there. And so there's a focus on working on the back engineering of this technology there. And so the private aerospace corporations have kind of flocked to the area and set up offices, major field offices there to kind of be trying to get what they call wet their beak.
Yes.
To kind of get their nose in the middle of this thing because they get these no bid contracts.
The no bids, yeah.
And so not only that, but they're open ended. That even if they engage in cost overruns, that they say, "Here, give us a piece of the technology. Give us $20 million, and we'll develop X for you. We'll
Right.
develop a platform that will deliver this a nuclear weapon, for example, into the heart of China or Russia in 2 minutes." And if they run over and it costs more than $20 billion, and it costs, like $30 billion or $40 billion, that they still keep getting paid,
Yes.
for it. And so they're all there hogging out at the trough. And so that it's pennies for them to turn around and pay, tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, giving them in campaign contributions. Now that the United States Supreme Court in Citizens United has ruled that corporations are people, are a person, and therefore they have First Amendment rights. And that First Amendment rights include being able to pay as much money as you want to contribute it to the elected representatives. They've basically purchased the votes of those people.
Exactly.
So we've organized and gotten Michael Turner thrown out as the chair of the Intelligence Committee in the House because he was placing the interests of his own funders over the national interest of the world.
Now,
actually,
don't you think it'd be safe to say that so if there's a vested interest in getting this technology and getting pieces of it, that one of these contracts might have been create a directed energy weapon so we can bring more of these craft down, so we can get more of the pieces, so we can keep this train running.
Well, we know that they've developed it, and we know that the process is always leasing out these contracts to private aerospace contractors, in weapons contractors, and so that they've clearly developed some type of an electric pulse weapon of some sort that is capable of interrupting the navigation system of the UFOs. And so they've been knocking them down and then capturing the crew, in some cases killing the crew. Okay. Now these are acts of war that are being undertaken by a group that is lying to Congress, concealing their activities, embezzling money out of other appropriated funds to secretly fund their operations. This is a rampantly criminal operation that's going on. It's not only unconstitutional, but it's criminal. They violate all kinds of specific criminal laws against embezzlement, witness intimidation, a theft of government property, which they take and give to the private aerospace corporations, fraudulent bidding, perjury, committing perjury to Congress. These are, and so another thing that our new Paradigm Institute is doing is crafting a major federal criminal racketeering act criminal complaint. And we're in communication with people in the high levels of the Justice Department to say, look, this is a criminal operation. You've got to indict these people. We've got to have a grand jury put together to gather the information together and force these people to testify.
Right.
We can give certain individuals immunity so that we can get their information, like in any case like this.
Right, yeah.
And this is what the New Paradigm Institute is engaged in. We've been asked to do this, just like we got asked to draft the 15-page enhanced UFO whistleblower legislation, which we've now put into the House of Representatives, giving them the option of dramatically increasing the protections for the whistleblowers that are specifically focusing on the UFO issue, because they need more protection than general whistleblowers because of the kind of levels of retaliation that have been taken against them. So all these things are being coordinated by the New Paradigm Institute. And so if people will get in touch with us directly and become participants in the Citizens for Disclosure, they'll have access to all this information.
Well, and one of the biggest things that, I mean, so aside from the huge criminality, the others, whatever they are, whoever they are, have clearly shown a tremendous amount of restraint because, I mean, like you said, what they're committing is acts of war, and they're entering us into a potential.
You mean our people? Our people are doing that,
So
yes,
they're potentially
against them.
entering us into an interplanetary war with a non-human intelligence without the public's consent. Or, I mean, we saw how that happened with what happens with Vietnam when the public doesn't want to go to war with someone.
That's right. That's right. And so in this particular case, you know, they're lying. They're doing it in secret.
You're right.
I mean, at least everybody knew that the Vietnam War was going on.
Protest.
So we could get organized to try to protest against it. But right now, they're lying to Congress and lying to everybody, saying, no, there's no such thing happening. We don't know what you're talking about, but it's all being done in secret. And so what we need to do is we need to get this revealed first. And that's why the disclosure is the first step. Okay. At the same time, we'll be working, you know, in the Institute to develop the alternative policies and structures that we need to put in place to absorb all this information. We need to be prepared, for example, for a completely new alternative energy source that it may well replace fossil fuels entirely.
Overnight.
So the entire petroleum industry is going to go flat on their butt. You know, and what we have to do is we have to get prepared for that because we have a petroleum dollar. Mm-hmm. You know, the American dollar is rooted in the value of a 50-gallon drum of oil. Okay, people aren't aware of this, but so there's a lot of things that need to get done to prepare for a smooth transition, a soft landing for this particular process to take place. But the statute is proposing doing this over a 7-year period. Right. So what we want to do is get this started, like right now in 2025. So by the time we get to 2030, 2032, we'll have this process in place so that we can make this transition. That's what the New Paradigm Institute is all about. I love it. That's the thing that people have invited us here to talk about. Mm-hmm. You know, I've done 4 major 90-minute presentations about different aspects of all of this. And I've been on 3 panels. I'll be on another panel tomorrow, sharing the information because we're trying to get all 7,000 people signed up here, right? And then have them get their friends and neighbors signed up because this is the way this has. If we're going to have, if democracy is going to be able to survive this type of assault through this secret team of people working, you know, that we're going to have to exercise our rights as citizens, and we're going to have to fulfill our duties as citizens. Right. Yes. If we're going to preserve our democracy, that's why nothing short of that is important right now. People are very concerned about maintaining our agency in the face of a whole extraterrestrial civilization, but we have to demonstrate that we can exercise our agency as a democracy against this kind of elite 1/100th of 1% of the people in the world running everything. Right. You know, we've got to be able to take over the institutions of our government, stop this kind of secret war that's going on against the extraterrestrials, prepare ourselves to integrate the information that they're going to be providing to us, and try to establish a much more harmonious and mutually respectful and mutually beneficial relationship with the extraterrestrial civilization. Because maybe when we do admit that, like you said, when all of that does come to fruition and it has time to breathe, maybe then open contact can take place because we are willing to change and to be better, you know. But it seems that, you know, as humans, we love to put ourselves in categories and separate each other, but right. we forget often that we are one human race, and you know, at the end of the day, we need to help each other. That's right. That's the only. I don't think there's nothing that
a united human race couldn't do. And I think that's why they like us divided, so that we can't organize, because we are so powerful in numbers.
That's right. And it's like, that's what the theory of democracy is all about. And what we want to be able to do is demonstrate that we're capable of actually exercising our democratic rights, so that if we're going to preserve them in the face of an entire civilization that may have transcended that entire process, have some sort of elite supercomputer system or something that tells them what to do or whatever,
Right.
we want to be able to preserve our agency as human beings, to engage in exercises of free will. And we have to demonstrate that we're capable of doing that,
Right.
that we are really interested in preserving that right that we have, so that when we do have open contact and communication with them, they'll appreciate the fact that this is part of our culture, and that we demand that we be allowed to exercise democratic decision-making over our lives. And that's the long run of what we're doing here.
Absolutely. And I'm going to put so there'll be a QR code right here, right now, that you get scanned, that will bring you to the New Paradigm Institute, where you can sign up for your Citizens for Disclosure and become a part of that. I know you're a very busy man. I want to ask you one last thing. Given your tremendous resume and all the things that you've seen, done, and been a part of in your career, have you ever been in the presence of UFO material?
No, I'm not. I've never been in the presence of a UFO being. I've never been in the presence of one of the craft. That I know that there was some material that was brought to a meeting in Las Vegas by Hal Puthoff.
Yes.
That Dr. Puthoff believes is material from a craft, but I wasn't at that meeting. But I've met with many people who have been there present, but I have not. That I've come to realize all this from photographs I've seen, the motion pictures that I've seen, videos that I've seen, documents that I've read, that have all previously been classified. And so that I know I've seen the inside information about all of this, so I know that it exists.
Right.
And I know that we've got access to information which, if presented to a jury of 12 just average citizens, are going to conclude beyond any reasonable doubt that this is true, and that these things are happening right now, and that we need to mobilize as citizens to protect our rights, and to exercise our democratic freedoms, to get control of this, so that we can participate in deciding what the protocols are pursuant to which we're going to coordinate our relations with this extraterrestrial civilization for the next 10,000 years.
Right.
It's not going to be left up to some military intelligence group, of like 25 or 30 men, who are deciding what our relationship is going to be with this entire extraterrestrial civilization.
Right.
That cannot be allowed to go on. That is a complete violation of democracy. It's a complete violation of our constitutional system. It's a complete violation even of our criminal laws. So we need to step forward and take action right now.
And that's there it is. We need to take action right now. So Danny, thank you so much for joining me. You've been in places like the Vatican Archives.
Yeah.
I'd love to have you back on the podcast sometime, in person in Boston. I just opened a new studio, so maybe we could do a long form conversation and get into more of that. The Vatican, that whole thing, it really fascinates me.
It's really fascinating.
Yeah, and you saw some very interesting things. So thank you for being here. Thank you for what you do for this community, and thank you for pushing people to do the right thing.
Terrific. I appreciate the privilege.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, Tom.